Soma versus his father. Quite the match this week, and it was quite the epic episode that demonstrates how far Soma has come, but also how far he has to go. And this was kind of like a milestone. This episode was a milestone to show, in these past episodes, the first half of Food Wars, what it has done to increase the skills of Soma as being a chef. And so, this episode, for the most part, was kind of just Soma getting motivation, determined to move towards the top. And also, he needs to know that he still cannot best his father. He needs to get better. But he has gotten better, according to his father, praising him at the end of their Shokugeki. He says, like, it seems like you got a bit better. Using this type of recipe with the apples, that was something that shocked Soma's father. Now, I want to take a guess, I'm assuming. As we know from the last week's episode, we had it to where Soma was kind of following in the footsteps of his father, Joichiro. He was kind of following in his steps. And the way his father came out and says, like, oh, you used that, huh? And you saw how his face was kind of shaded out and stuff. It makes me assume that Soma's father, at one point or time, probably in the past, used that type of recipe to win a Shokugeki, or something when he was doing a training, or something very similar to that. And I feel like that was kind of showcasing how Soma has improved. Like, we don't really know it. I mean, we can assume we know, but we don't know the full extent, because we don't really know how high up there in level Soma's father is. I mean, we know he's one of the best, but we don't really know in terms of skill how fucking good he is. Like, you know, in terms of, like, worldwide best chefs, we don't really know. We don't know where he stacks up at all. And so, I wonder if the recipe that Soma used is something that Soma's father recently discovered, or discovered right before he left the school. I mean, there's a lot of questions I have about that, because the way he acted around that specific recipe. But regardless of that, though, the episode was pretty damn good. I mean, we got to see Soma's food first. We got to see it demonstrated, which is quite a different change of pace, because usually when it comes to the Shokugekis, like, you know, in Food Wars, it's always Soma last. Like, it's usually his food is served last, and we get to see, you know, the breakdown of his food save for last, in terms of Shokugeki, from what we have seen from Food Wars. And so, to see how he was first, I was like, oh god. So, for them to be, like, fangasming, or foodgasming all over his food in this episode, like, the first half, I'm like, oh god, the food of his father is gonna be fucking insane. Like, it's going to be ridiculous insane. Come to find out, yep, it was. Like, the father, in terms of skill level, oh god, it's massive. Like, it's a massive skill gap between Soma and his father. But I did not expect to see what type of recipe Soma's father concocted, like what he made this week. He made a ramen, like he made ramen that was meant for vegetarians. And it was very soft and rich. And there was two different actual distinctions between Soma and Joichiro in this episode. Soma's father wanted to increase the maximum satisfaction of the people he was serving. And he wasn't really trying to keep it safe and keep it nutritious. Like, you know, just keep it nutritious just for early morning to be, you know, nice and fluffy. You had to where Joichiro tried to make maximum satisfaction, took it to the entirely different level when you ate it, and that's kind of what happened. And to see how he made this food from multiple experimentations of making from, like, this monk that believed in a certain religion not to eat meat, it makes a lot of sense, because there's a lot of people out in this world right now that will not eat meat because of certain religions, like they won't eat pork or different things like that, or fish, and so they need to figure out some way to get protein or different types of food. And so Soma's father, in that situation, he had a learning experience to where he had to make some form of food that was very appetizing, didn't taste like shit, and it gave the exact same proteins and needs of a person that, you know, would usually eat meat. And so kind of what we saw in this episode of Food Wars was a man that trained for so long for this particular dish that it was kind of like him putting his knowledge of years of knowledge inside of one dish and just slinging it onto the table and like, here you go, eat my knowledge. That's kind of what it was. And so I like the demonstration of that. This episode had a really good vibe and atmosphere to it just for that scene alone. But one thing, though, I really liked, though, about this episode was just to see how Soma is on the path of success. Like, he's going down this path right now to where it's kind of like he's carrying his father's spirit. Because at the end of the episode, there was symbolism that represented that. When he walked into his father's room, like he was carrying, you know, his bag and stuff, and he was walking into the room, you saw his father in a younger version, sitting on the window. And then, you know, the father just disappeared after Soma looked at him at the end of the episode. That was to symbolize that Soma is going down the exact same path as his father, and he's trying to best him and be better than him. So right now he's on a good path, a path of success, and he's doing a lot of similar things that Soma's father did. I wonder if that dialogue in this episode was foreshadowing to future Shokugekis. Let me explain. We come to find out that Joichiro, he lost a lot of Shokugekis from experimenting with food. Like, we come to find out that he used to experiment, put random shit into, like, burgers. Like, let's say he put octopus tentacles in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which we have already seen, and he would put that in a Shokugeki, trying to win a Shokugeki. Well, he says that the only times he really lost his, you know, Shokugekis was when he experimented. And I wonder if Soma's going to do the exact same thing. Is he going to experiment with shit and make something very fucking disgusting and nasty and then lose some of his Shokugekis because of that? I wonder if that was, you know, slight subtle foreshadowing for the future, but we'll see. Overall, though, episode of Food Wars, very fucking good. I cannot deny that this episode was great. We got to see Papa demonstrate his cooking skills. So, tell me your thoughts. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.